You're still live on Metro Sports with me, Michael Kofi Odro. My guest already seated, Mahama Shaibu, is here with us this morning. Good morning, Mahama, and thanks for the time.
Good morning, Chairman.
Okay. Mahama Shaibu's team, Aveno Stars, right? They were in the final of the Accra North Colts final.
Yeah,
that's
the
the
champions
Colts
of
League
champions.
final.
Yeah.
Champions of champions. But unfortunately, his side lost on penalty shootout to Charity Stars. But I understand you've lodged a protest against Charity Stars.
Yeah, we've lodged a protest. We have so many concerns.
You will not let sleeping dogs lie.
No. Because some of these concerns, I think, if you have to do football, we have to do it very, very well. In a game that involves under 17 players, I don't think it's appropriate that you bring players who are playing the Division 2 League to come and feature in such a game. So we've lodged a protest, and we are hoping that the Accra North District will educate the matter within the shortest possible time. We are confident that we are going to overturn the results.
But would you have continued with the protest if the award ceremony had gone? We know that there was a bit of chaos after the Division 3 Middle League final, and so the trophy presentation and all that couldn't take place. But would you have gone ahead to?
Even before the main events kicked off, which was the final between NAFU and then BYC, even before the events kicked off, we had already lost the protest. So the protest came immediately after we lost the match because we saw those concerns were even rules even before the game kicked off.
Okay.
So we had typed the protest and then we were waiting for the final result to see what we were going to do. And then,
See. Eli Kondo is head of communications at Star Times Ghana. Eli is here with us this morning. Good morning, Eli.
Good morning, Michael.
So when Jerry wins President Cup, he appears in a red tie. When Chelsea and Eli win the FIFA Club World Cup, he appears in a blue tie and a blue jacket. Congratulations, Eli.
Thank you very much. There's a saying that give honor to who honor is due. So if, like in Inaugural says, nipa ya dia osayi, unyi na ya men senidi. Inti mi Chelsea, fantastic.
Jerry, a free year Pemka. Jerry, good morning.
Michael. Good morning, Michael.
I love your new hairstyle.
Well, thank you.
I wish my hair can grow as much as yours so that I'll also try this and see how I look.
Yeah, I think you can still try it.
My hair
If you
it
keep
doesn't
your hair, you
really
should be
grow
able to.
up like that.
Maybe if you apply some, if you come, I'll show you the
show me the
tactics,
trick.
the
Okay.
tricks.
Don't you think the hairline is also a very key consideration?
Jerry, it is only one person who saw this coming. And this morning, it is just fair that we give him a call. He's an ardent viewer of Metro Sports. His name is G Money, and he usually texts us from Amasaman. I remember before the Conference League final, he mentioned that Chelsea will win the Conference League final. They will go ahead in the Club World Cup and beat every team in the Club World Cup and will emerge world champions. And any other day when we had the show, he sent a message reminding us of his prediction that Chelsea will win the FIFA Club World Cup. This one will make efforts to reach G Money. He's an ardent viewer of the show, and he's a big fan of Chelsea Football Club. For the fact that he predicted days ago, about 2 months ago, that Chelsea, and going into the Club World Cup, I'm not sure anybody predicted that Chelsea were going to. I predicted Chelsea would do well because at the start of the competition, I knew that, especially when some of the teams were complaining about the schedule and all, I knew they were not going to attach much importance. But Chelsea play in every game, every competition with the approach it deserves. They don't even know friendly matches. So I knew Chelsea were going to attach all the seriousness. But it's not just about, because as the tournament went on, you could see that teams attached a lot more seriousness and were bent on winning the tournament. So we have to congratulate Chelsea, congratulate Eli, Rahman Kubaja, Bosheba the Shine, big fan of Chelsea, G Money. You predicted this 2-3 months ago. Congratulations to
Zemu see you.
Joel Maubejibe. Zemu. In fact, another big fan of Chelsea. Yesterday, he called me and he was shouting all over. Not forgetting my physio, who almost broke my neck after Chelsea scored the second goal yesterday. Gabriel Anan Okay, so what is this? I know it's Zemu who put
It's
this.
a-
I knew Zemu is a top guy, a good content creator.
But you know, before the
But
game,
what's on there, Charlie?
before the game, it was reciprocal. PSG was the dog looking to harm the Chelsea cats up there. But now that it's over, it looks like Chelsea has taken
The tables have turned.
the tables of exactly.
But it was an interesting game, a befitting final, Jerry.
Well, I think
Or it wasn't. One-way traffic.
in terms of the football, yes. If you are a Chelsea fans, you applaud. In fact, most neutrals, and myself included, were really surprised by the Chelsea performance. I think Coach Maresca got his tactics right. He got everything right. He got the players to deliver exactly what he wanted, and I think it worked. He got them off the blocks from the start. They started attacking PSG with a high press, and I think that PSG at that moment, should have tried to be a bit compact and soak the pressure before, but they still opened up, and I think they got punished very early in the game. The game itself was not a spectacle, but the Chelsea performance was extraordinary. Extraordinary by all standards. Some of their players yesterday, lived up to the billing, the expectation that many had in them before joining Chelsea, but have not, actually delivered to what was much more expected of them. Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. I mean, as for Cucurella, he's been the Chelsea best player, for some time now, since last season. I think yesterday, everybody, Pedro, who seemed to be the missing, jigsaw in the puzzle, seemed to have, fitted in well and gave Chelsea that, cutting edge, that bite up front, which they've missed, in their play for some time now. So I think Chelsea deserve all the plaudits. Congratulations to them. Deservedly, crowned world champions. And who knows what the season holds for them. I think this has, made a lot of people to revise their notes. Coming into the new season, Chelsea, I did not think were going to be, Premier League title contenders. I think they still have about maybe 2 more years to get there. But after what they've produced in this competition and yesterday's final, I think I have to revise my notes because some of the signings they've made, like Pedro, and others, the guy from Palmeiras and all the other guys, Estavio, I think has given the team, a completely different look. And I think that they are more potent and powerful, than the team that ended the season. And I think they are going to challenge for things this coming season. So kudos to Chelsea. I think Todd Bowley's project now, I think, seem to be, producing results. They say the Chelsea supporters will tell you they trust the process. And I think so far, it looks like, yes, the process is beginning to deliver, silverware with this trophy. So congratulations to them. We will see how it goes as the season begins next month.
Okay. Mohamed Shaibu, your pointers from Chelsea's 3-0 victory over PSG.
Before I talk about the Chelsea game, I would like to say congratulations to the organizers of the Club World Cup. I think proud to the ending of the competition. People had their own reservations on whether USA will be able to host the World Cup to perfection next year. And I think what we saw yesterday from the closing remarks, the closing ceremony was something that is beautiful to watch. And that puts me in a very good position, knowing that when we trust USA with the tournament, they are going to deliver it for us. So I'll give the organizers some sort of applause because I thought everything that went on yesterday was decent. Onto the game. The Chelsea team did extremely well. They defied all odds. They put us in a situation that no one ever thought we would be in. It was a game that everyone expected PSG to go on and win. The people that were confident that Chelsea were going to win were mostly the Chelsea fans, and then some few other people who were confident that Chelsea were going to win. Even those who were confident that Chelsea were going to win were not confident that Chelsea will be able to blow PSG apart. This is a PSG team that has been able to beat Liverpool, who I would say last season were the favourites to win the UEFA Champions League. They went on to beat Arsenal. They came into the Club World Cup. They dismantled Real Madrid. They humiliated Atletico Madrid and another team. So it was just clear that they were the favourites to win yesterday's game. But Chelsea, I think, did everything well to win that game. Enzo Maresca had his tactics spot on. Playing James in midfield, which was a decision that has constantly been criticised by the Chelsea fans, was something that I thought was played a key role in Chelsea winning the game, because James in midfield yesterday managed to close the spaces, or he closed the spaces that PSG would be able to exploit. And when he watched the game yesterday, Chelsea had it right from the goalkeeper, Sanchez. For me, people are going to look at what Cole Palmer did yesterday on the football pitch and then applaud him. But if I was going to pick one man, to be the unsung hero in yesterday's game, then that man was the goalkeeper, Roberto Sanchez. The reason why I'm saying Roberto Sanchez was that you realize PSG did not even change from what they used to do, which was pressing very, very high. We saw Dembele doing that. And anytime that Dembele did that, it means PSG were a bit higher up the field. And they led spaces at the back. And those spaces were mostly exploited by the Chelsea wingers. So you realize the first goal, for instance, and even the second goal came from a long ball from the goalkeeper. So whilst PSG were trying to press Chelsea tried to find spaces through their goalkeeper, and they sent those balls long to the wingers, and then they were able to exploit the PSG defense. And I also thought that PSG playing without Pacho, who has been very consistent with Marquinhos yesterday, somehow affected them. So Beraldo and then Nuno Mendes, you didn't see that sort of telepathy between them. And Chelsea constantly exploited the left side of the defense, and then they were able to get 3 goals. Chelsea, an impressive display for them. It was an all-round performance, an all-round attacking display, an all-round defending defensive display, an all-round display from the midfield. It was a day when most of the Chelsea players that somehow there were reservations on how good they were came to the party and then answered every question that was asked. Someone like Caicedo, he was just decent on the football pitch, taking almost every boxes, tackling, throwing his body at almost everything that was thrown at him. So yesterday's game was one that Chelsea played to perfection. I think Enzo Maresca had his tactics right, and then you could see that in the latter part of the game where he rose his legs and then somehow gave a very cheeky smile to say that yes, I've been able to do the job. I've been able to do what others have not been able to do. Now, this Chelsea win, I was telling someone that all this Chelsea win is doing is that it is going to mount serious pressure on Arsenal and then Mikel Arteta. As we sit here, Mikel Arteta simply has nothing to do than to win a major trophy next season for Arsenal. If Mikel Arteta doesn't win a major trophy for Arsenal next season, then I wouldn't be surprised to see most of Arsenal fans call for his head. Most of Arsenal fans call for his sacking. So the Chelsea win yesterday.
But how is Chelsea's win? How is it? What put pressure on Mikel Arteta to win a major trophy?
The reason why it is what
Arsenal fans not expectant over the years.
Arsenal fans have been expecting Mikel Arteta to win a trophy over the years. But the reason why this Chelsea win puts pressure on Mikel Arteta was that during the course of Mikel Arteta's rebuilding, the only trophy that he won with Arsenal was the FA Cup. During Chelsea's rebuilding, with Enzo Maresca, who was constantly being criticized by the Chelsea fans, while Mikel Arteta, even during the period that he was going through the transformative stage for Arsenal, he was constantly praised, while Maresca is constantly bashed. He has been able to deliver the Conference League. He has again been able to deliver the Club World Cup. And when you look at these two managers, there are two young managers who came under the same umbrella. And look at the people that are deemed the competitors for Arsenal. Tottenham Hotspur, Chelsea, they are all Arsenal's bitterest rivals. They've all been able to win a trophy in what they would say is not even their best season. While Arsenal fans, we've been saying the past 2 seasons have been our best season, and all we can celebrate is second place finish without a trophy. So if Chelsea have been able to do it in what they would say a season that they are building a new team, if Tottenham Hotspur, in what has been their shambolic season ever, have been able to win trophies, then it puts pressure on Arsenal, who have been saying for the past 3 seasons that they've been doing extremely well, but doing extremely well without even a trophy to show. So all this success that Chelsea and then Tottenham Hotspur are chalking goes on to put pressure on Arsenal. Look at Man United, for instance. Man United have been terrible over the past 5 years. But in those 5 years, they've won more trophies than Arsenal. They've again played in more finals than Arsenal. So all this tends to put pressure on Mikel Arteta, who is now getting the backing from Arsenal. Now, the things that we could say are things that pushes the Arsenal team back, which was getting a centre forward that can score goals, has now been solved. Arsenal have Jokeres who takes that box. So Mikel Arteta has nothing to do than to win a major trophy next season for Arsenal. If he's not able to do that, I'll be the first person. I'll be see, I'll try and tear a leaf from the books of the Arsenal fans who went to the House of Folk fans who went to the training ground to sack a coach. I'll make sure.
Led by Kobe Jones.
I didn't want to mention the name. I didn't want to mention the
Kobe
name.
Jones is also an Arsenal fan.
And so he was the one who led
so
that
maybe all you
tax.
need to do is get him a ticket.
So what I'll do is that I'll tear a leaf from that book and I'll get my big brother Kobe Jones to be by my side. Then we start this agenda. If Mikel Arteta doesn't win a major trophy next season, then he must go.
Okay, let's go to the man of the moment, Eli Kondo. He represents the Blues here this morning.
You can cook.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm glad that Chelsea is bringing out the hunger in Arsenal fans now. They have a reason to be more hungry for success and demand...
To be more ambitious.
More ambitious and demand the best from their coach. So I'm glad on that front that Chelsea is bringing out and awakening some ambition out of Arsenal fans who are very reluctant over the years. Before I even go on, let me say a big big shout out to retired WO, Mr. Ajay Sewatri, all the way in Ho. I'm sure he should be happy as well that Chelsea are in a good place. But away from that, let me talk about Chelsea's success. There are some coaches who always remain very, very stubborn with their tactics. They always want to prove to the world that regardless of whatever opposition or whatever tax that comes before us, we will stick to our plan. We want to execute our plan and show the world that our style is the best. One typical example is Pep Guardiola, and his brother Enrique has also shown the same. Now, he has all the rights in the world to stick to his style, because obviously his style was able to beat almost all the top gangs in Europe last season and even in the world. Unfortunately, that style was well rehearsed and well marked out by another very intelligent Italian tactician who has also learned from one of the greats, Pep Guardiola. Now, Maresca compromised his style of play and says, okay, well, we're also a possessive team. We'll possess the ball and play to you man to man. He compromised that and says, okay, well, this is what we can do. And before the game, there were pictures of him trending where his head was in his hands. He was looking dejected and stressed while at training with the boys. It looks like he was trying to implement some ideas. The guys weren't taking it, and he was sitting on the bench and he was looking very stressed. And that picture was trending. People were saying, well, because of that body posture, he might lose it because he's not having confidence. But he really worked hard, tirelessly. Now, some of the things I learned from yesterday's game was this. He knew against Real Madrid, when PSG was playing against Real Madrid was trying to push their men forward. And at some point, PSG, when they get the ball, they outrun Real Madrid, counter, go, and they score. And that was another deadly weapon from PSG. But what Maresca did very well yesterday was that he also decided to employ the high line. So at any point in time, PSG wants to run at Chelsea, the high line will make it difficult for you. Once you go out, and it really actually nullified Dembele's threats yesterday, because at any point in time, Dembele will try to outrun and go for the ball, the long balls. He will be offsided. And that was a very good tactical display from Enzo Maresca on the side. Aside that, now before Thursday when I was here, Kaninja brought up this tactical board where we spoke about some of the weaknesses of PSG and identified that PSG, with all their pressing and with all their midfield overload, they always commit the likes of Hakimi and Mendes up front. And yesterday, Mendes was the scapegoat, or whoever was sacrificed yesterday. He committed himself too much up front, and whenever he was away from his position, allowing Palmer, and let's give praise to Maresca once again. He knew that when Palmer plays deep in midfield or in the number 10 role, he would not get the room to operate. So let me put him right on the right wing. And that right wing was where Mendes was operating. So once Mendes goes forward, to go and join attack, the balls are sent behind. So Cowell sent the first one through. Sanchez also sent. Gusto also was using that flanks, running through, and that space was one of the biggest opening for Chelsea yesterday. And all the goals, three goals, came from that flank, the right flank, where the balls were just sent over the top of Mendes, and that was a tactically displayed positioning from Maresca, the bench, and the players. Now, aside, because we all knew PSG, what they did is that we load the midfield, we allow the fullbacks to join the 3 in the middle, and then we have 5 in the middle, and then they go higher again. So more like wing backs, they go higher again to join the attack. So they have 4-3-2 in their system of play. Now, when you do this 4-3, so 2-4-3. More of. So when you do that and you're overloading your midfield and your attack and you're leaving spaces in behind, and now you don't have the best of defenders. Marquinhos is not one of the best pacey defenders. You had Pacho, who was complimenting him, but Pacho goes out on suspension, and Beraldo comes in, who is also not very confident defending or even playing out the ball from defense. So now these two are becoming vulnerable, and once Chelsea saw those spaces, it was perfect. Now, one also credit was to Pedro Neto. People thought that Pedro Neto was going to be the one making the runs on the flanks. But somehow, Pedro Neto was playing a wing-back position yesterday. So, Cucurella was not going up front too much. He was joining the two defenders at the back. That's Chalobah and Cowell at the back, and Cucurella joins them to become 3 when they're defending. And Pedro Neto will come all the way deep to play that left back position. And when there's attacking, he moves forward. So he was more like playing a wing back formation. And all the Parma needed was just to stay there and wait for the balls to come. And it was very well executed. So once the balls come over the board from them, Pedro Neto will just join the attack. João Pedro moves in space, and perfectly done. João Pedro runs and moves the defenders out of the space, allowing Palmer to run in and just pass the ball into net. And now, for a goalkeeper as huge and tall and wide in the post, when we saw that when Delap came in and did that killer of a long ball up, it was easy for Donnarumma to point out because he had the frame to jump. But if a goalkeeper is that huge and you put the ball on the ground, like a carpet display for him, it's difficult for them to quickly go on the ground and stretch because of their height. Going on the ground is more difficult than elevating themselves in the air. And that was something that Palmer did brilliantly. He tried the first one. He got a chance earlier in the game where he lifted the ball and he missed the target. But he was very intelligent enough and said, okay, well, the next time I'm not doing that. He just rolled the ball onto the far post, and he did the same thing twice to beat Donnarumma in post. So on a whole, I think Maresca compromised on his style, identified his opponent's weakness, exploited it, and allowed the players to work beyond themselves. And that's why I'm giving credit to Pedro Neto for doing the wing-back positioning. The midfield overload, Caicedo, another brilliant player. And because he overloaded the midfield, he also nullified that mobility of PSG's 3. Vitinha did 1 or 2 that was brilliant. He remains a very brilliant midfielder, but because he was not allowed enough space to go forward and even release the balls and then still move into space, he was restricted. And same to João Neves, who also got frustrated at the point that when Cucurella tried to agitate or irritate him, he decided to commit and did that violent tackle on pulling his hair and got sent out.
Now, I want Joe share some images. I want him to put those images on the screens again. One thing I saw, and I don't know what you guys think or whether you saw the same thing. Now, in the final, and it's not just for PSG, even with the Portuguese national team, we've seen how Nuno Mendes has done a good job over the period, taking out key players of opposing teams.
Salah.
He did it to Mohamed Salah. He did it to Lamine Yamal. Even we saw PSG against Real Madrid, how Vinicius Junior was not allowed to operate the way he has to. He did it against Bukayo Saka when they played Arsenal. But for some strange reasons, that man marking which has worked for him at PSG and at Portugal, I don't know whether it was the tactics or decision or the instruction from the coaches, but yesterday he decided not to do man marking. and left a lot of space anytime Chelsea were on the attack. Joel, if you can share the images, and if you watch highlights of all 3 goals, you see that there was no point. Now, this is a clear image.
Yeah. Now, you see, let me help you out here.
Just look at the space between the PSG defenders, and look at the distance between Nuno Mendes and then Gusto.
Now, you see, on that flank,
and even in this situation, you see that Kopama is not even in sight.
picture, yes.
He's not in the picture.
so the good thing that Maresca deployed was that we're not putting any identical winger on that flanks, because he knows that Nuno Mendes is the guy who always wants to join attack, just like Hakimi. So Pedro Neto, that's what I was saying. Pedro Neto was also doing the wing back formation role, going all the way back. Now in this picture, there's no identical winger on this right wing, because Palmer is always going into the middle, and when there's time for them to attack, he moves wide and then goes back in. So Mendes does not have the money that I'm marking this winger on these flanks. There's nobody to mark. Gusto is a right back. Palmer is not even there. So at what point do I know who I am marking on this flanks? And so this is my job. So he was confused. So then let me just go forward and join attack. And that was a deception that brought his downfall.
Okay. But was it not possible that looking at how Chelsea played, that on the day, Mendes will be more defensive-minded than B? Because he looked more offensive-minded than his primary duty as a defender.
Yeah, I think Hammer said something about coaches who like to stick to what they believe in.
Okay.
You mentioned Pep Guardiola. Yes, you again. Klopp is another one. They will never change, even if when they are losing by 10 goals to 0. They believe in their philosophy. They believe in their game style, and they believe in what. Yesterday, that is what happened to PSG. I think that of course, we've seen them blow teams away. And so everybody knows how they play. Now they've been figured out. Everybody knows that, yes, Nuno Mendes on the left will make things difficult if you put, a winger or an attacking player on that side of the flank. So it was very simple. The Chelsea manager, Enzo Maresca, decided to populate the midfield and allow his front players the freedom. You understand, the freedom to move into empty spaces. And the work of the likes of João Pedro and Pedro Neto, Neto, anytime they came forward, was just to move the centre backs out of position, to create space for Kopama to score the goals. And you could see that the absence of Pacho, clearly, they did not have somebody who could step in and do a job, exactly the way he's been partnering Marquinhos. And there was serious loophole in that center of defense, which was exploited by Chelsea. Chelsea just knew that they don't need to they don't have to allow PSG to play their type of game. So they took the game to PSG. They took the game to PSG right from the onset, and with the high press, which I think confused PSG
Enrique.
a bit, and Luis Enrique a bit. And I think in the first 10, 15 minutes, he should have realized that his plan A, was not working, and should have quickly, engaged plan B by having a compact defense and closing the space in midfield to stop the Chelsea attack and the high press. And he didn't do that. He still kept his players, as he said, Nuno Mendes bumping forward, everybody bumping forward, and keeping a high line, and which Chelsea exploited all the spaces there as they moved forward. Nuno Mendes moved forward. Kopama and others moved into the empty spaces and exploited the
another thing also was how Chelsea multiplied in defense when they had defensive duties. At any point, when the ball was in the half of PSG, even when the ball was just behind the center line, you found as many as all Chelsea 11 players behind the ball. If the ball gets halfway through the half of Chelsea, you find minimum of 8 players. You can, so you see where the ball is. The ball is almost at the center line, and all 11 players of Chelsea behind the ball. Now, anytime they had defense, you could count as many as about 8 players behind the ball. And there were some who said that Chelsea had revisited the days of Jose Mourinho, but it worked for them perfectly. They kept a clean sheet.
Yeah, and the way Chelsea defended yesterday, it wasn't only from the centre backs. You look at the way they mapped out before the game. You had Enzo Fernandez.
This is halfway through. And at halfway through, if you add the goalkeeper, about 9 men behind the ball.
And you get about 3 or 4 closing up on the player with the ball.
Yeah.
So that was so difficult for PSG to come out of.
You look at the way Chelsea mapped up yesterday. You had Enzo Fernandez playing in the number 10 role. But usually when a player is playing in the number 10 role, the basic responsibility of that player is to create chances for the team. But Enzo Fernandez playing in that role was doing a much different job yesterday. And you look at Pedro as well. A winger as well, you expect to see a winger make more runs up front. But Pedro was more focused defensively, trying to stop the threats of Hakimi and then Ousmane Dembele. That is where I feel PSG usually enjoy themselves, from the right-hand side. Of course, sometimes you do see that from the left-hand side where you have Kvaratskhelia and then Nuno Mendes. But from the right-hand side, that is where I feel PSG are more dangerous. And then with Enzo Fernandez playing yesterday, you realize that even at the times when Chelsea even pushed higher up the field, and PSG had to play from behind, PSG were not able to construct solid passes. They pass the ball around, the ball goes to Marquinhos, it goes to Donnarumma, and they are forced into putting the ball out or kicking the ball long. So PSG struggled to even play the way they wanted to even play as a team. And when Chelsea had to defend as well, you had almost everyone coming back to play. And when they had to even play from behind, you had James, who was playing in midfield, coming back to join Chalobah and then Koyel in defense. So they played from behind, and then you had, what's the name, Gusto moving up higher the field. And that was where I felt was a bit confusing for Nuno Mendes, who struggled to contain Malo Gusto for the entire 90 minutes. So for me, Chelsea's win had to do with how they played defensively. And I think they played above themselves. I've never seen Chelsea play like this before. Never in any game have I seen this current Enzo Maresca's Chelsea team play like this before. They defended brilliantly defensively. And then in attack as well, one thing they did too was that they were very, very efficient. So they pressed PSG very, very well. And when it was time for them to defend, every single player, including even João Pedro, stepped back to sit behind the ball, and then that nullified the PSG threat. So Chelsea did extremely well by making sure that they offloaded the midfield. And when it was time for them to defend as well, they sat back. Almost everyone in the team sat back. The likes of Pedro Neto, who has been very decent throughout this competition, being the attacking threat for the team, also came back to help Cucurella defend. So Chelsea did their job well by defending brilliantly in terms of pressing up front, and also in terms of keeping the men at the back. And there were even times that Sanchez had to make the save. And in those times too, he was there brilliantly. Let's not forget there was this tackle that Cucurella made when the game was scoreless. Only the single time that PSG were able to push Chelsea out of their shape, Kvaratskhelia had the ball and then laid a carpet pass to Desiree. Desiree in that situation wanted to tee up Hakimi for almost an empty net. But then Cucurella read the situation very, very well, and was able to make a block. So you have to give Cucurella credit for stopping that sort of attacking threat. Had that ball went in, they would have been able to nullify Chelsea's brilliant attacking start. And that would have taken Chelsea back to -1, because you've had a decent start to the game. Now you are trailing by 1 goal to 0. So Cucurella's defensive ability in that moment was one thing that I also thought won the game for Chelsea.
Okay. Ellie, your side is returning to the Champions League with the exploits and performance at the Club World Cup. Will you say that you have a team that will be competitive for the UEFA Champions League season?
Initially, I wasn't confident in Chelsea's goalkeeping because Sanchez is known for making silly mistakes, but I don't know what he was told yesterday. He was very focused. He joined in attack as well, because some of these long balls he was sending in was very dangerous, going over the top of the PSG midfield and defense. So if he's going to be as consistent as he was in yesterday's particular game, then I think we are good to go into the season. And I still think that we need a very experienced defender who can lead the team from the back, because some of these guys, Chaloba, before yesterday's game, was a bit shaky, wasn't as confident as I was expecting to be. Yesterday was very solid. Cowell is one of the guys who I think has a level head in terms of defending and being responsible. So if we get one of that who can be able to push the team forward in defense and all of that, I think we are good, because in midfield we have the boys who can replace each other. Sugu has come in, can play in place of Caicedo now, so Caicedo can rest in some games. There's Latvia. If Latvia can also stay fit, then I think there's good competition in that midfield as well. Now Santos, who also comes in, can also play in place of Enzo Fernandez as well. So there's that variety in midfield for Chelsea. On the wings, Gittins has also come. Gittins can play on the left wing, same as Pedro, and then also Pedro Neto can also play on the right as well. And if Palmer can also be allowed to play on the right at times, and then we have the number 10 role also there. So I think Chelsea has an all-round team now that can compete, and once the players stay fit and consistent, they can compete in the Champions League. But as to whether they can win the Champions League next season, it's still up for discussion. But from what they have done, because now, after winning the Club World Cup, there's going to be pressure in terms of how Maresca is going to be measured in terms of output going forward next season. You are a team that has won the FIFA Club World Cup. You should be able to show consistent display throughout. So that will be a question mark on him. But once he's able to consume that pressure and still remain calm and deliver, I think they can go far.
Okay. Now we look at some of the incidents that happened in yesterday's game, especially the reaction of Luis Enrique, who assaulted Chelsea's João Pedro.
Yeah.
An act that must be condemned. And I've seen a number of comments on it, people condemning the reaction of Luis Enrique and also the conduct of João Pedro himself. Yeah. Jerry, beyond this, do we expect some sanctions to the characters involved?
I'm sure FIFA will have a look at it and take the appropriate action. I expect some punitive measures to be taken against, both parties. And it was ugly since at the end of the game, and it's all part of the pressure. I could understand the kind of pressure Luis Enrique and the PSG, the whole PSG team were under, and maybe the pressure just got to them, and they lost their heads.